Greetings, devoted fans of Days of Our Lives. This is your trusted team at Days Drams Digest, your go-to source for the juiciest updates, theories, and predictions about the heart-pounding drama unfolding in Salem. Buckle up, because the storm brewing around Maggie Horton Kiriakis is about to unleash a torrent of chaos that could change her life, and the lives of those around her forever. We're diving deep into the latest episodes, where secrets, betrayals, and a looming threat of a catastrophic accident are pushing Maggie to the edge of a precipice. Is Xander Kiriakis, the man at the center of this tempest, orchestrating her downfall? Could his actions, fueled by a toxic mix of desperation and vengeance, lead to a tragedy that shakes Salem to its core? And what role does the unraveling of Xander and Sarah's marriage play in this escalating drama? Let's unravel the threads of this intricate storyline and explore whether Maggie's fate hangs in the balance on Days of Our Lives. In the latest episodes, Maggie Horton Kiriakis stands at a crossroads, her heart heavy with hope and trepidation. After years of navigating the turbulent waters of Salem's endless dramas, she's ready for a fresh start. The decision to move into a new house symbolizes a chance to rebuild, to find peace after the chaos of recent months. But this is Salem, where peace is as fleeting as a summer breeze, and Maggie's optimism is tempered by a gnawing sense of unease. The move, meant to be a beacon of hope, feels more like a tightrope walk over a pit of vipers. Maggie's apprehension stems from her complicated relationship with Xander Kiriakis, her son-in-law, or, more accurately, her soon-to-be ex-son-in-law. Xander, with his roguish charm and a history as checkered as a chessboard, has always been a polarizing figure in Maggie's life. She wants to believe he's changed, that the man who once swore to protect her daughter Sarah has finally shed his darker impulses. So, in a moment of guarded trust, Maggie extracts a promise from Xander: no more lies, no more betrayals. She looks into his piercing eyes, searching for sincerity, and he assures her that this time, he's worthy of her trust. But the weight of his past misdeeds hangs heavy in the air, and Maggie can't shake the feeling that his words are a fragile facade, ready to crumble at the slightest pressure. Sarah, meanwhile, is a woman on the edge. Her heart, battered by Xander's repeated betrayals, can't withstand another blow. The scars of their tumultuous marriage are still raw, and Maggie knows that any misstep by Xander could shatter her daughter's fragile emotional state. As Maggie watches Sarah navigate the pain of their impending divorce, she feels a mother's fierce protectiveness surge within her. She's determined to shield Sarah from further harm, even if it means confronting Xander head-on. But in Salem, confrontations rarely end cleanly, and the stage is set for a collision that could have devastating consequences. Beneath the surface of Maggie's cautious optimism lies a bombshell that threatens to upend her world. She's uncovered a secret that Xander has been desperately trying to keep buried: his vicious attack on Philip Kiriakis. The revelation hits Maggie like a thunderbolt. Philip, her stepson, has always been a complex figure in her life, but the idea that Xander would resort to such violence sends chills down her spine. The details of the assault are murky, shrouded in the kind of ambiguity that only Salem's residents could conjure. Was it a calculated act of revenge or a moment of uncontrolled rage? Whatever the truth, Maggie knows that Xander's actions could have far-reaching consequences, not just for him, but for everyone entangled in this web of deceit. Maggie's discovery places her in a dangerous position. She's torn between her loyalty to her family and her moral compass, which demands justice. Confronting Xander about his attack on Philip is a gamble, one that could ignite a firestorm. Xander, for all his charm, has a ruthless streak that Maggie knows all too well. She's seen the glint of menace in his eyes before, and she fears what he might do if cornered. Yet, silence is not an option. Maggie's conscience won't allow her to let Xander's actions slide, especially when they threaten the fragile stability of her family. The fallout from Xander's secret has already claimed one casualty: his marriage to Sarah. The decision to divorce was not made lightly. Sarah, once so deeply in love with Xander, has reached her breaking point. The revelation of his attack on Philip was the final straw, a betrayal that cut deeper than any of his previous misdeeds. Maggie, who has always been Sarah's rock, stood by her daughter as she made the agonizing choice to end her marriage. The scenes of Sarah packing her bags, her eyes red with tears, were heart-wrenching. Maggie's own heart broke as she watched her daughter's dreams of a happy future with Xander crumble into dust. But Sarah's pain is only part of the story. Maggie, too, is grappling with her own sense of betrayal. She had wanted to believe in Xander, to see him as the reformed man he claimed to be. His promises of change had given her hope, not just for Sarah, but for the possibility of a united family. Now, that hope lies in tatters, replaced by a growing fear that Xander's true nature is far darker than she ever imagined. As Maggie processes the end of Sarah and Xander's marriage, she can't help but wonder if she could have done more to protect her daughter. The guilt weighs heavily on her, fueling her determination to hold Xander accountable. The tension between Maggie and Xander reaches a boiling point when she confronts him about his attack on Philip. The scene is electric, charged with the kind of raw emotion that Days of Our Lives does best. Maggie, her voice trembling with a mix of fear and resolve, lays out her ultimatum: come clean or face the consequences. She threatens to go to the authorities, to expose Xander's crime and ensure he pays for what he's done. It's a bold move, one that Maggie knows could backfire spectacularly. But she's driven by a fierce need to protect her family, even if it means risking everything. Xander, however, is not one to be cornered easily. His response is chilling, a stark reminder of the dangerous man he can be. With a steely gaze, he warns Maggie that if she follows through on her threat, Philip will go down with him. The cryptic warning sends a shiver down Maggie's spine. What does Xander know about Philip that could tie them together in this mess? Is he bluffing, or does he hold a card that could destroy not just himself, but Philip as well? The ambiguity of Xander's threat only deepens Maggie's unease, leaving her to wonder just how far he's willing to go to protect his secrets. This exchange marks a turning point in the storyline, transforming what was once a personal family drama into a high-stakes game of cat and mouse. Maggie is no stranger to Salem's intrigues, but this feels different. The air is thick with menace, and she can't shake the feeling that she's stepped into a trap. Xander's warning lingers in her mind, a dark cloud that casts a shadow over her every move. As she navigates this dangerous terrain, Maggie begins to realize that the consequences of her actions could be far more severe than she ever anticipated. Here at Days Drams Digest, we can't help but speculate about the dark path this storyline is taking. The tension between Maggie and Xander is a powder keg, and we fear that it's only a matter of time before it explodes. Our sources on the ground in Salem, and our own gut instincts, tell us that Maggie may be headed for a terrible accident, one that could leave her fighting for her life. The signs are all there. The escalating threats, the unraveling relationships, and the ever-present danger that lurks in Salem's shadows. But what could trigger such a catastrophic event? And could Xander, in a moment of desperation or rage, be the one to set it in motion? Imagine the scene: Maggie, distracted by her fears and the weight of her decisions, is driving through the rain-slicked streets of Salem. Her mind is racing, replaying her confrontation with Xander, his menacing words echoing in her ears. She doesn't notice the figure lurking in the shadows, or the car that seems to be following her a little too closely. A sudden swerve, a screech of tires, and then darkness. The accident, when it comes, is brutal, a collision that leaves Maggie's car a twisted wreck. As sirens wail in the distance, the residents of Salem are left to grapple with the aftermath, wondering who or what caused this tragedy. Could Xander be behind it? The possibility is chilling. His history of ruthless behavior makes it all too plausible that he might take drastic measures to silence Maggie's threats. Perhaps he tampers with her car or orchestrates an accident to ensure her silence. Or maybe the truth is even more twisted. Could Philip, caught in the crossfire of Xander's schemes, play a role in the events leading to Maggie's accident? The layers of deception in Salem are thick, and no one is ever truly innocent. Alternatively, the accident could be a tragic coincidence, a result of Maggie's own distraction and the mounting stress of her situation. But in Salem, coincidences are rare, and we can't help but suspect that darker forces are at play. The writers of Days of Our Lives have a knack for weaving complex, emotionally charged storylines, and this one feels poised to deliver a gut punch that will leave fans reeling. If Maggie does suffer a terrible accident, the consequences will reverberate through Salem like a shockwave. Sarah, already devastated by the end of her marriage, would be crushed by the thought of losing her mother. The guilt of having dragged Maggie into her conflict with Xander could push Sarah to a breaking point, forcing her to confront her own choices and the man she once loved. Philip, too, would be drawn into the maelstrom, grappling with his own role in the events that led to Maggie's peril. And what of Xander? Would a tragedy of this magnitude finally force him to face the consequences of his actions, or would it only drive him deeper into his web of lies? The residents of Salem would rally around Maggie, their beloved matriarch, as she fights for her life. Hospital vigils, tearful confessions, and long-buried secrets would come to light, as they always do in times of crisis. The accident could also reignite old rivalries and forge new alliances, reshaping the dynamics of Salem's ever-shifting power structure. And through it all, the question of who is responsible would loom large, casting suspicion on everyone from Xander to Philip to unexpected players lurking in the shadows. As we at Days Drams Digest ponder the fate of Maggie Horton Kiriakis, we can't help but feel a mix of dread and excitement. This storyline is a masterclass in soap opera drama, blending heart-wrenching emotion with nail-biting suspense. Maggie's journey from hopeful matriarch to a woman caught in a deadly game of secrets has us on the edge of our seats. Will she survive the looming threat of an accident, or will Salem lose one of its most beloved figures? And what role will Xander play in her fate? Is he a villain driven by desperation, or a man caught in a cycle of his own making? We want to hear from you, our loyal readers. What do you think of Maggie's story? Do you believe Xander is capable of orchestrating a tragedy, or is there another force at work in Salem? Share your theories, predictions, and hopes in the comments below, and let's keep the conversation going as we await the next heart-stopping episode of Days of Our Lives. We hope you enjoyed it and look forward to sharing more with you in the future. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe TV Days Drama Digest for more updates on Days of Our Lives.